We are back on MorningLine.
Yay!
Christy Wilson.
I love being here.
She does. Her set used to be right over there for Real Estate Real Talk. She's too busy. She's out selling houses. But
Well,
she was
Nick,
willing
it's
to
just
come
so
back.
much fun. It's just fun to be on the air with you. In fact, I was getting ready this morning, and I had a purple dress I was going to put on. I'm watching Channel 5. I'm like, oh, Nick's wearing purple. That might look weird.
It would have been okay. I'm all right. We would have been color coordinated. But we do get along. I learn every time you come on. I'm really interested in this. It's great to live in this town.
It is.
Because of what's happening, and a big reason is the real estate and people wanting to. I like it because I know I live here, and so many other people want to
be here.
Yeah, it's
it is fun
cool.
when you go somewhere else. People are like, "Oh my gosh, you're in Nashville."
Yeah.
That's on my bucket list to get to Nashville.
Yeah.
I'm going. Well, come on.
Hey,
don't move here. But no.
It's another network, I know, and I think maybe this is the last season. I don't even know. But did the TV show Nashville help you think in real estate to some degree?
Yeah.
Do you think somehow? I don't know how it.
Well,
I know it helped in general
Nashville
with some things.
In general, I mean, the scenery, the shots, everything in that show.
It look great.
It does, and now
not that it doesn't, but I mean, you know, it's awesome.
It's hard now to get into Bluebird Cafe.
Yeah.
It's hard to get there. They have Nashville tours, you know, where you go to the sets. It's funny when you watch that show. Like there was one show where they were at the Roundabout, the Musica Roundabout, and yet they were taking their kids like to Harpeth Hall or something. You know, I'm going, now you wouldn't pass Musica going to school when you live in Belmead.
Show that. They're giving us the best
I know,
look.
they have. It's been good for Nashville. They do a good job with that.
Yeah, the rest of the country sees it. Let's go to Edith. Edith, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Edith. How can we help you?
Well, I have a question for your guest.
Sure.
I want to ask her if I should get title insurance. When we bought the house, it was 37 years ago.
Wow.
And the builder, they said it was a new house and all, and they said we didn't know that, you know, they furnished a title to the mortgage company. Mm-hmm. But I don't know whether to get title insurance now at this late date or...
That's a great question, Edith. So right now your house is paid for, I'm going to guess.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So what title insurance does, that protects you as the owner for someone coming back from the past to claim ownership on your property.
But why would
or
she
claim
need it?
liens.
She's lived there for 3 decades.
In this case, I would say it probably wouldn't be necessary, but I always do defer to talk to an attorney on that to be sure. But I think in your case, you're probably pretty safe without it, owning it for 37 years. If there were any liens on the property, I can't imagine them still being valid.
Yeah.
Builder liens and whatnot. So
I guess it does depend on the value of the house, but what does title insurance cost usually? It's like any kind of insurance percentage?
Each county is a little bit different. It's a dollar amount per $1,000.
Okay.
So
depending on the value of the home.
Depending on the value of the home, that's right. Huh. And so, for instance, here's a story. My dad had bought a piece of property, and he'd gotten title insurance on it. The lady, it was an elderly lady. She sold it to him. He was going to keep it for rental property. And she would always talk about her ne'er-do-well children. You know, my kids aren't getting anything because they've treated me terrible. You know, that type of story, which is sad, very sad.
Sure.
So Dad buys the property. Fast forward, maybe 6 months later, and all the heirs come back and said that my father had swindled her out of her money. And so he was able to utilize that title insurance to protect his ownership on the property.
So the title insurance pays for what? His attorney fees?
Yeah. And then if there had been a claim or any type of money paid, it would have paid for that.
Okay.
So it does go up.
And that's almost that. They weren't really claim to the property as much as really saying that he swindled her or something like that.
That he had the property illegally in that case. Another case was...
How'd that work out, by the way? He won?
He won. Yeah, he won. Or the title company stepped up and, you know,
yeah, but I mean, they defended it, but they didn't have to settle with these never-do-wells.
Yeah. But there was another situation where I knew of a guy who bought a piece of property at a foreclosure sale for his daughter, and then I'm trying to remember this. This was like in 2007, 2008, and then the people who lost the house in the foreclosure. And this was going on, said that the bank did not go through the proper processes to foreclose on them. So they said that they still owned the property, and they came back after the daughter who now owned the home, and her title insurance had to pay to defend her as being the owner of this when this other person was trying to say that they owned that property.
Wow. Okay, I never
so it
really
happens.
thought.
It's rare. It's rare, but we've been in such a bizarre market in the past 10 years, just sort of the ups and downs.
Yeah.
Lenders, if you have a loan on a property, the lender requires title insurance.
Okay.
If you pay cash and there's no lender lien, because a loan is a lien on the property, then you're not required to carry it, but it's a safety net for you to have
So I'm
title
guessing the
insurance.
house I bought and we built on some land that we bought, I probably have title insurance? I don't even know.
Yeah, you do.
Why?
Did
No one
you
has
have a mortgage?
Yeah. Yeah, because we owe money on it. So title insurance. But what are they afraid of there? Why am I paying that? Who's going to claim my land?
Well, the mortgage
some
company,
nutcase?
the mortgage company wants to insure the amount that they own of your house.
Yeah.
They own, let's say they own $200,000 of your house,
Okay.
and some nut job came and said, well, this was my land during the Civil War.
Okay.
This is my family's land. We
I
never
got you.
actually
Okay.
transferred
That's the example I was looking for.
Yeah.
Something that
Something bizarre.
outlandish, but that stuff can come up, and this just gives you the protection.
I wish I was in the title insurance business.
Yeah, they do pretty well, huh?
They do.
Gosh, especially like you said, with the buying and selling right now. All right, let's get back to the question that I threw out there as we went to the break. Someone, with a modest income looking for a first-time home that's moved to this area, maybe come from some other area for a job here because we have great employment. What kind of places to look for? And what's the next horizon for, and I'm not talking necessarily just about Nashville, but I mean...
Yeah, Middle Tennessee.
You hear
Nashville.
like Bordeaux outside Nashville, you hear Ashland City area is the next hot spot. Mount Juliet already is. What do you think?
Well, the median price for housing in Nashville was $242,000 at the end of the year.
Okay.
In 2015. That's median, not
that's the
average.
middle.
That's the middle.
Middle spot.
So if you look at wanting to buy, and for a first-time home buyer, sometimes $242, that's a lot of money still.
Sure.
And but let's use that as our example.
Okay.
Definitely in the urban core, it's tough. There are areas that I love, like the Whites Creek area, Joelton area, that northwest Davidson County is beautiful up there. You can still get, there are still some pricey things up there, but you can get a lot for your money. The other side of Mount Juliet, heading towards Lebanon, is a good place to go.
Right.
Wilson County is growing by leaps and bounds. As you know, you live there. At least y'all have a train.
I know, we have the train coming through,
And so that's another, I think, growing area. The industry out there, y'all have got a lot of land where industry can build. So once the industry comes in, rooftops follow. So that's going to be another big development area. Madison is surging right now. You mentioned Bordeaux. Bordeaux is surging, going out towards Ashland City. That's one thing I've always scratched my head at, is how Highway 12 hasn't developed more.
Right.
Other than it's so rocky, and I don't know if sewer. You got to look at your water and your utilities also.
Okay.
So that is a rocky chunk of area there. So if you can get, you'd have to get sewer in there if there's not sewer, because it's so much rock, it's going to be hard to get septic.
Yeah, right. To get property perked or something like that.
To get perked.
Exactly. That's kind of what it was like in Mount Juliet when we built it. It was tricky getting it perked.
I love Kingston Springs. Kingston Springs has gotten pricey, but the other side of Kingston Springs, heading towards Dixon, that's a beautiful area. Fairview still affordable.
Okay, and you said the interest rates right now still are hovering right around 4% for 30 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's still, Nick and I were talking over the break, which I thought was funny, is for so long everyone's been saying, well, these low interest rates aren't going to last, but we've been here for 10 years. We've been hovering at 4 to 5 since 2006. So it's, who knows? Which
is still very, we say now, and it's kind of commonplace that it's that low, right?
Yeah.
But what was it back when? It's been as high, you can go back to Jimmy Carter and stuff. It was insane.
My parents bought a house in 1981, and I think their rate was 19%.
Yes, I know, right. Can you believe that?
And they had to pay 4 points, and point is 1% of your loan. And I looked at my dad when he told me, I was new in real estate, I'm like, oh, how could y'all do that?
I know.
Oh my gosh. He said, well, we knew it'd get better and we'd refinance. And at that point, I was too new into real estate to understand that. You grew up in that, but you didn't pay attention to that.
Imagine 19% on a loan.
It'd be anarchy.
Yeah, well, and we were talking also during the break about if it's down there, there's still maybe some people out there that have been homes for a long time that still have, if you have a 7% loan right now,
refinance.
Why the heck haven't you refinanced? That will save you thousands of dollars. You can go from 7 to 4. It doesn't really cost you that much up front now to do that because they can roll it back into the new loan.
Now, one thing to consider too, there's two factors to that. Number one, you have to have equity to refinance in your house, and you still have to have good credit.
Yeah.
So if you held on to your house during the bad times, but your credit got really bad, you may not be able to refinance.
Okay.
And so that
like
could be a challenge. But a good thing to do on that is to get with a good, reputable lender. We use Farmington Financial Group at our office as our preferred lender, and let them walk you through how to get your credit fixed.
Okay.
You know, and what the time frame might be to be able to refinance. Or if you're buying a house, we get calls all the time, people wanting to buy a house, and they're just not there yet. Either the credit score isn't there, they don't have enough down payment money, and we help them walk through the process of getting them ready so that they can be good home buyers.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, there's some people that are still, like you said, that I know are working, good people. They're not in a ton of debt, but because of when they bought their home before the crash, they are upside down still.
Still, yeah.
And it's been a frustration for them because they're not the kind of people that are going to walk away. They make good money. They make all their payments. Because they're upside down, they can't refinance.
Right.
And it's maddening because they're in a bad risk maybe based on some of the numbers, but they're not going to walk away. They're a good risk.
And luckily we've come out of that pretty much.
Okay.
Most people have recouped.
Okay.
I tell you, those days were terrible. And when you would have to go in and sit down with the seller and tell them what the value of their home was, I mean, that was gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
And
did you have to do that a few times? Give me an example. Like, what was some big explain what upside down in a home means.
Sure. Upside down is when you owe more than the home is worth.
Yes.
And I went into a house. It was over in Belmead Highlands area, and her husband had a great job. But they spent money, so they really hadn't set anything aside. They wanted to downsize. You know, the kids were out of the house, and she thought her house was worth like $750,000, and it was really worth like $550,000. And they were just stuck, and they just needed out because the payment was killing them and all that.
Yeah.
And there was just nothing they could do short of it getting foreclosed on, and they didn't want to get foreclosed on. You know, nobody wants to get foreclosed on, or nobody really wants to walk away.
But I can understand why some people do. I mean, I've heard of that. I mean, not that it's a good thing, but if you owe more than it's worth, and you bought it a while back, and no one's working with you, see ya. Well, we know a lot of people.
It's called
did that.
leaving the keys on the counter.
Yeah, and
people leave the keys on the counter. They walk away. You know, and they used to do. You used to hear of something called deed in lieu of foreclosure, where you would just give the deed back to the bank. The bank would take it, and you move on. And those really aren't that common anymore.
How's that different than a foreclosure? I mean, meaning that you're proactive in doing that instead of them coming and saying, you know what, you're not paying, we're shutting you down.
Right. And then we went to the short sale issue. You know, it's just been a ride the past 6 years, and we've been out of it, though. I mean, truly, Nashville's been out of the housing crisis per se since about 2012.
Yeah.
Things have been doing that since 2012.
It was just so eerie for a period of time there where there was no construction, zero. You know, I used to go pick up wood scrap to build things in my backyard from the builders when they'd give it to me, and there was nothing. And now, of course, building's back. Out in Mount Juliet, there's homes being built everywhere. It's a sign of the economy that bounced back.
Right.
But
well,
go ahead.
And we're in an inventory crisis. I hate the word crisis. I keep using the word crisis.
Inventory crisis. Inventory, things are tight, right?
It's tight. There's not enough houses to sell for the demand of the buyers that want to buy in certain price ranges. Like over $1 million, we have a surplus probably. But in that, I'm going to say $250,000 to $500,000 price range, and under 250 is really hard. I mean, it's tight. There's just not a lot of housing out there.
And that's what most people maybe are looking for, something, especially on a first-time home.
Well, you know, a $200,000 house on a first-time home is about a $1,200 payment.
Okay.
You know, and it's just hard to find that, and it breaks your heart. And so that's where it drives the prices up, because you have 5 people putting offers on this one $200,000 home, drives up to $225,000.
Yep.
You know, so but I see a leveling coming. I mean, I do. I see a leveling coming, and our inventory will catch up with new builds. You know, supply and demand always wins.
Let's take a break on that note. You're exactly right. When we come back, more of your phone calls. Stay where you are, Ronnie and others. If you want to jump in our final segment with the lovely and talented Christy Wilson. We'll be right back. Stay with us.